Welcome everyone again. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you all enjoyed a wonderful dinner. And yes, thank you. I think the wait staff and everyone did a terrific job here at the hotel. We are here tonight to honor an amazing individual, Bob Jennison from Post Alarm, for the highest award that the California Alarm Association gives out in this association. It has absolutely been a pleasure in the time that I have known Bob, and I think we've all known Bob in one way or another. I had the distinct privilege of sharing with Bob that he had won the award. It's really wonderful to share with somebody when they are so humbled by an award, and you can tell they have the true servant mentality. And Bob, I know you said it made your day. It made my week to be able to deliver that news to you, and I'm just so delighted that we are going to be honoring you this evening. So with that, I would like to welcome you to the stage so we can begin our show. Everyone, Bob Jennison.
The servant mentality, I feel like I'm married.
Oh, that's funny. Bob has tirelessly given, as we know, at the state, the local, the national level, and he's done a lot of volunteer work. But you know what? Sometimes it's not just all about volunteer work. We're still running businesses. And as such, the first presenter that we're going to have come up to the stage is going to be Tony Smith, who is a colleague of Bob's. He is a past president of the California Alarm Association and a past recipient of the Weinstock Award himself. Tony?
Good evening. Let's start by paraphrasing Shakespeare. We have come here tonight not to praise Bob Jennison, but to skewer him. Now, a sharp knife leaves little pain, but a dull shank will remind him of our affection. Bob asked, no, he begged me not to tell his early life story, beginning with the crib.
He's old.
I thought carefully of his request, but then remembered the dull shank. So, Bob, here it is, as I remember it. The Jennisons and the Smiths, our parents, partied together often while we were growing up. One New Year's Eve, they decided to go out together and asked me to babysit young Bob.
Told you he was old.
I didn't know better, so I said yes. I should have caught on when they offered me an obscene amount of money for just 4 hours with little Bob. I arrived and had just comfortably settled into the couch to watch the latest Lawrence Welk show, when a loud and piercing scream came from Bob's nursery. I rushed to his bedside, ready for the worst, but quickly realized his diapers needed changing. Now, inquiring minds would want to know, no tape for Bob, safety pins only. I was wrestling him into a fresh diaper when he cut loose with his fire hose. He got me real good. I can still feel it. But it did smell like very nice Chardonnay. Bob, you did grow up a little and you graduated with a degree from Loyola High School, Woodbury University, but your antics were legendary. They are still trying to find out what happened to the Jennifer gang members who were accused of transplanting palm trees in Catalina. Southern California breathed a sigh of relief when Bridget married Bob. She pulled him off the streets and supervised his every move until good behavior almost became a full-time thing for Bob. At this point in his life, Bob still likes to kiss a cheek or two, although he is still not sure where to do it. In 1980, Bob and Fred Dunner and I partnered up at VCB Security. We had a great time working together, and despite some of the challenges we faced at that time. This is where I first became aware of Bob Jennison as a salesman. Now I'm going to say nice things. He is, in my mind, the best in-home salesperson I have ever met. He seldom loses a residential sale. He is able to make the customer believe that having a security system should be like having a refrigerator, even without the Chardonnay. While at Loyola High School, Bob learned to write in the Greek language. Just ask one of the many installers who have tried to decipher his customer installation instructions. That's why they are called Bob Jobs. As a member of the Southern California Security Association, Bob channeled his energies into a number of industry problems, especially false alarms, working with the cities of Pasadena, San Marino, and Los Angeles. The local alarm association became one of those problems. George Weinstock, George Gunning, Bob, and myself decided to form a new association and go in a different direction. GLASA emerged as our new local association, intent on joining with the other local associations to form the California Alarm Association. Bob did most of the detail work to form GLASA and including doing the application for nonprofit status, which is a big deal. In short, Bob and the others formed a GLASA and put it on a course towards, I can't even read here, to grow and succeed. Bob was fully committed to GLASA and the CAA. He has served several times as president, as next to and in the other offices as well. He actively recruited new members, such that GLASA has consistently been one of the largest associations in the CAA. Vendor support is the lifeblood of any association, and he has been very active in building the relationships, especially through the golf tournament he helped develop during its early years. Frank Burke, also a Weinstock Award winner, energized the CAA to take on the scholarship program as our primary outreach effort. Bob quickly joined the committee, thinking he would be able to go back to school and complete third grade. It was not to be. He had to read over 200 essays, over 100 essays each year, and couldn't pick himself as a scholarship recipient. Bob is a member of the Jonathan Club. They are a bunch of old geezers who sit around drinking martinis, listening to their arteries harden, and complaining about the USC football team. Bob and his wife Bridget are intrepid travelers, have traveled through the world. Look carefully, and you can see a road map of all the places they have visited on Bob's face.
Where's my martini?
Bob, I know it is past your bedtime, but it is your night. Bridget and all your family are here to salute you. The Post family is here, along with all your friends, celebrating this very special Weinstock Award. You have been an awesome contributor to our industry and a warm and welcoming presence to all of us. Salute, amigo.
Thank you. It's okay. I have to take him back to his chair.
Well, we all know that Bob is very dedicated to the industry and the association, to his work and colleagues, but we know the heart of that is his family. And today when I went up for your reception, Bob, it was so endearing to see that I think it was approximately 20 people. I heard different numbers of your family had flown in to surprise you for this evening. What a wonderful, wonderful way to start your evening. We know you are a true family man. On that note, I would like to invite Jeff Jennison, your nephew. I'm not sure if he's your favorite nephew or not, so, but I would.
We haven't showed up tonight.
Yes, yeah. I'd like to invite Jeff to come up for some remarks, please.
Fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. It's a treat to be here tonight and a privilege to have a chance to share a few words about Bob. Most of you know him because of your business relationships, but I hope to share a few words with you about Bob as a family guy. In many respects, Bob's the center of our family. Faith and family mean everything to Bob. They mean more to him than travel, alarm systems, the Jonathan Club, Monahans, and USC combined. But several months ago, Bob mentioned to me that he'd be receiving this award. Might have been nearly a year ago. He said it was a big deal. I could tell right away he was excited about it. For those of you who know Bob, he's always excited. But it was easy to see that this excitement was a little bit different. He mentioned San Francisco, a tuxedo, a Lifetime Achievement Award. He said he'd love to have his family here, his brothers, his sisters, his godchildren, nieces and nephews. He was really fired up. But months had passed, and we hadn't heard anything about this. And he and I were chatting one morning, and I said, UB, short for Uncle Bob, what's the deal with that award you're supposed to receive in San Francisco? Is it still happening, or did the association find a more worthwhile recipient? He said it was still on. In typical Bob fashion, I said, what happened to us all coming to the event? And he said, Jeffrey, I don't want to trouble anyone. It's a busy time of the year. A lot of you guys have kids. And I'd have to pay for you to all come to dinner. Now, many of you know that Bob is a thrifty guy. I'll get back to that in a minute. Well, Uncle Bob, your 4 siblings are here tonight with their spouses, along with 15 of your favorite nephews and nieces, and you didn't have to pay for one of us. We've come from Phoenix, San Diego, Carlsbad, Pacific Palisades, Corona, Newport Beach, Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, and count them 8 from Nashville, Tennessee. We are all here because of you and what you mean to us. You and Bridget would have been the first ones to say, we will be here, if any of us were being honored like you are tonight. God has blessed you immeasurably, and he has blessed us because you are such an important part of our family. Now, I mentioned thrifty a minute ago, and being frugal is kind of a Jennison family thing, but Bob definitely leads the charge. For those of you who have worked alongside of him, you'll know he's no stranger to a brown bag sack lunch. He's been known to drink vino out of a box. He actually told me one time that drinking wine out of a box has dual benefits. First, it's cheap, and secondly, you have no idea how many glasses you've had. True story. You know, when you're out to dinner with Bob, he often heads to the bathroom at precisely the same time the check arrives at the table. One time, he took a bunch of us to McDonald's, and he drove his car through the drive-thru backwards so that the pay window ended up on our side of the car. But when it comes to family, Bob is one of the most generous guys you will ever meet. He would do anything for any one of us at any time, and his excitement fuels every family occasion. If he and Bridget aren't at a family event, it's immediately noticed. His unique laugh and desire to give every female relative a wet kiss on the lips are staples at every family function. Oh, yeah, they do. Bob has a special gift of being able to connect with the youngest of kids and the oldest of adults. He's had that gift forever. And while he's been blessed with this gift, it takes effort to be this way. Bob always makes the effort. For years, he was Santa at our family Christmas celebration. That kind of ended when the little kids started to ask why Santa was getting so skinny and why he's wearing topsiders and drinking beer. But Bob has been to more soccer games, baptisms, communions, birthdays, graduations, weddings than you can shake a stick at. If you invite Bob, he comes, and he comes with energy. When I was in the 5th grade, we abruptly moved to a new town in La Cañada. New school, new house, new friends, not the easiest of times for a 10-year-old kid. So I show up nervously to my first Little League practice, and who's there as my team's assistant coach but Uncle Bob? I remember that feeling of relief to have someone there who knew me, and I will never forget that. And my example isn't unique. That's the kind of uncle that Bob's always been. I know that each one of my cousins at this table and that table and this table over here would have stories just like that. You see, he has consistently made the effort to be that kind of an influence. Sure, there were ski trips, Disneyland days, cruises, ball games, fishing trips, but it's that regular connection with Uncle Bob and his genuine interest in others that sets him apart. When you are that kind of person, you attract others, and my guess is that's why you, as an association, are honoring him tonight. Uncle Bob, on behalf of your entire family, those who are present, the few that were unable to make it, and even those watching tonight from above, congratulations on receiving this honor. The California Alarm Association truly got it right. We love you, and if our family were to give out a Lifetime Achievement Award, you would have been our first recipient a long time ago. We're very proud of you. Cheers.
Wow, that's really touching. Well, the family is going to continue, and we have Gina Post-Franco and Rob Post, who are going to come up, and they are the owners of Post Alarm. And some of us are wondering, so there's family, there's work, if you're trying to still keep a job going here, or, you know, there's going to be a debate later of what's really happening. Yeah, okay. But we are excited to bring them up to the stage, so if you'd like to come and give your remarks, please.
Hello, I'm Rob Post, and this is my sister, Gina Post-Franco. We're third-generation owners of Post Alarm Systems. And this year, we were able to celebrate our 60-year milestone with the help of my parents, Bill and Lois Poster, in the audience. Now, 20 years ago, we were able to merge with Security First, who at that time was owned by Fred Dunner and Bob Jennison. Now, my dad always said when he merged that he wanted to have Fred and Bob on his team. Fred for his brains and Bob for his social skills. I'm not sure what Dad meant with the brains thing. I don't know if... So I don't think Dad really read the merger agreement very well, because I'm pretty sure in it must have given you unlimited vacation time. So I'd say in the last 20 years you've been with Post, you probably worked about 5 of those years, and the other times you've been vacationing or traveling the world.
So true. So when Rob and I joined the business 15 years ago or so, I was really only 8 years old at the time. But so our dad asked Bob to take us under his wing to teach us the industry. And that consisted of lots and lots and lots of social events with Bob. And half the time, I would find myself giving some random presentation in front of a group of people. And before the presentations, I'd always say, Bob, come on, we got to practice our speech. Come on, I got to know what I'm going to say. And he would always laugh at me and go, Gina, you're so type A. I'm so type C. C as in cocktail, that is. And he would say, come on, just wing it, kid. So Bob taught me the art of winging it when it's necessary. But sorry, Bob, tonight we were not about to wing it. No way. So when Rob and I sat down to come up with what we were going to say about Bob, we were talking about all these funny stories. And all of a sudden, it kind of hit us. Oh, my gosh. He lives almost an exact parallel life, to that Dos Equis guy, the most interesting man in the world. Well, he even pretty much looks like him. So anyway, Rob and I decided to give him our own name. We've decided to call him the most interesting man in the industry. So, yeah. So Rob and I came up with the top 5 signs that we work with the most interesting man in the industry, Bob Jennison. Number 5. Every security company has a title for the job they're going to install, right? You have a Berg system, a fire system, access. Okay, we have all of that, but we also have what is known as the Bob job. Tony mentioned it earlier. What exactly is a Bob job, you might ask? Well, it's a job that's really formed out of passion for the client, that once it gets into the office, everybody digs really deep for creativity and spontaneity. And so an example of a Bob job is this. It's never done on a contract, always on a change order, because who on earth wants to read the legal mumbo jumbo? Sorry, Les. I'm sorry. It starts with like 80. The hours are about from 8 to 80. So we're just going to plan on 80 to be on the safe side. 65 wireless wireless window contacts were sold, but Bob asked us to bring 65 white and 65 brown because he can't remember the color of the window frame. When it comes to the total, it's to be determined. Hey, it's Bob's buddy. Bob assured us he's good for it. Don't worry about it. And as far as the signature goes, who needs that? We got the verbal. We're good to go. So that's that, my friends, is a typical Bob job. By the grace of God, they seem to always work out. I have no idea how.
Number 4.
No, 2.
Oh.
Oh, 4. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
I guess that's why you're in marketing. All right. Number 4. Bob is the man of steel. There are only a handful of people in the world that can tear their Achilles tendon, still finish the round of golf before going to the doctor. The doctor can't believe you're not in excruciating pain, and all you care about is to find out if you're going to be okay for your vacation you have coming up in a few weeks.
Number 3. Only the most interesting man in the industry would be able to marry an amazing, beautiful woman like Bridget. And not only that, but keep her happy all of these years. And Lord knows Bob's a piece of work. So we love you, Bob, but we love you more, Bridget.
Number 2, celebrities beg to... begged to have their pictures taken with him. So Bob has, I'm going to say, hundreds of pictures with celebrities. And so I asked him, how do you get all these pictures with the celebrities? And he said, you just got to look and act the part. So he started telling me how he got a picture with Mike Trout. So he went to the stadium a few hours early in a suit and tie. And so he just walked through self-security and waved like he owned the place, walked up to the field and just yelled out, hey, Mike, come over here. I need a quick picture with you. Took the picture, and that was it. That's how he does it.
And the number one reason why we feel like we work with the most interesting man in the industry, he takes 364 vacation days. And then, no joke. But on his 365th day, he returns to work, and he not only meets but exceeds his entire sales quota for the year. Yeah. So, in conclusion, yes, Bob is the most interesting man in the industry. And as Bob would say, keep it safe, friends.
So everybody knows the funny side of Bob, but Gina and I have been blessed to also know the serious side of Bob. And he told us keep it light and funny, but we're not because we want him to get a little squirmish. So when I came back to the company, to the family business, Bob kind of took me under his wing. He knew I came from public accounting and I like to crunch numbers and sit at a computer all day. And he knew that it was important that he tries to get me out and socialize. So he actually sponsored me at the Jonathan Club, the old men that you talked about. And And, he was really good. He would sit out. He knows everyone. We all know Bob knows everyone. So he'd introduce me to people, and he'd start the conversation, and then he'd make sure once it was going well, he'd leave, but he'd always watch me. And so it got me thinking. And, Bob has a very kind heart, and he's very caring, and he loves to see other people succeed. He tries to help all of us without even thinking about it, whether it's at Post Alarm or the industry or the charities or just family things. So thank you, Bob.
Bob, it is a gift to be able to call you my mentor. Over the 15 years that I have worked with you, I have seen you put in thousands of hours for GLASA and CAA, working on projects, being on committees, serving on boards, and you always did it with a selfless goal of making our industry stronger for everybody in this room. I never once saw you complain, and you've always done it with joy. You've taught me the importance of putting my time and my energies towards the things that I am passionate about, and you live life to the fullest. You encourage everybody around you to do the same. Your personality is so positive. You're like gravity, and everybody wants to be around you. And you bring out the best in others, and you remind us that we only live life once, so we need to take advantage of the gifts and the opportunities that God blesses us with. We need to always extend a helping hand for those that need help. And of course, we must always take the time to travel. Bob, we're honored you asked us to speak here tonight. And on behalf of our family and Post Alarm, we are so proud of you. And we are so thankful for all that you have done and all that you continue to do for our company and our industry. It is an honor and a privilege to work alongside you and to be able to call you a dear friend.
Well, we all know that friends are our cornerstone. We also know that in this industry, we make many colleagues, we make good connections, we network, but we also make very good friends as well. And it is my honor right now to call up Kirk McDowell, one of your good friends, to speak on your behalf.
Good evening. Well, both Jerry and Kathy warned me that all the previous speakers would probably have said everything there was good to say about Bob, and they were right. So tonight, a speaker should always have a plan B, so I'd like to talk about the ramifications of UL 827 and the potential impact that that could bring on the industry. But since the topic is probably as boring as Bob, I'm going to choose the lesser of two evils. I first met Bob about 1982 when I owned an alarm company in Pacific Palisades, California. I met Bob at a town fair at our local church, and Bob approached me and asked if my patrol division would respond and provide armed response to his alarm company that was poaching in my area. I said, absolutely not, and that was not the first time that Bob heard me say that. Our paths then crossed many more times over the years as we served on the board of directors together for the Los Angeles County Burglar and Fire Alarm Association, and I was subsequently elected president of that group and really relied on Bob's humor, expertise, and canny ability to know people's true intentions to help me get through that job as a very, very young president. And Bob later went on to be president of GLASA, the subsequent group. You know, the hardest thing about tonight is to try to find only a few stories to tell you about Bob, because if we were to tell all of Bob's stories, we'd be here for another 18 months. So tonight you're going to participate. This group's going to participate in this tribute to Bob. You see, I narrowed all the stories I had about Bob down to two. Since we just came off an election, I thought it would be good to vote on which story you'd like to hear. The first story is about how Bob's company acquisition was negotiated at a urinal. The second story is about how Bob and I shared a bedroom. Those of you that would like to hear the urinal story, raise your hand. Those of you that would like to hear the bedroom story, raise your hand. This group, I'll tell you, I figured that you would pick that. So I'm going to tell the bedroom story because I knew that was going to happen. The year was 2000, and I had the privilege of working the previous 8 years, or almost 9 years, for Post Alarm at that time. And Post Alarm had been awarded a trip to Lisbon, Portugal, by the General Electric Security, which was the predecessor of the company. My wife, Sherry, couldn't go. Actually, she hated to fly, so she said she couldn't go. So I could have gone by myself, but I thought better for a couple of reasons. And I asked Bob to go with me and share a room. You also have to keep in mind that Bridget was in full-time travel agency mode at that time. I was no fool. I thought that by asking him, we'd get upgraded on TWA from LAX to Lisbon. And he told me to wear a suit. In those days, you know, you had to wear suits when you wanted to get upgraded. We did get upgraded, but it was only 0.25% of the time. But Bridget, I still owe you for that 0.25%. Thank you. So keep in mind the year was 2000, and we actually left on November 7th, which was Election Day. And 14 hours later, however long it took, we got there. And it was a heated race between Al Gore and George Bush. You remember that. So the entire time we were in Portugal, it was like 6 or 7 days. Everyone was glued to the brand new network CNN, watching to see who was going to win the presidential election. Well, one evening, we had just returned to the hotel from a night out. We were a bit tired and had jet lag and had a little bit to drink. And we got into our separate beds. Bob took control of remote control, turned on the television, and started watching CNN and flipping back between that and old Baywatch reruns. About an hour later, I woke up watching that never-ending election results blaring on the television. So I valiantly tried to wake Bob up, but all I could hear was his snoring. So I had really a couple of options, right? One was to get out of bed, walk across the room, turn off the television manually. In those days, you could do that. And then forced to walk back in this darkened room and hopefully get into the right bed. Or reach over and attempt to commandeer the remote that was situated perfectly right on Bob's lap. You will not know the end of that story, But tonight, I would like to give Bob an early Christmas present, and we each have our own remotes.
Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas, Bob. You know, there are separate sides to Bob that not everyone notices, and you heard that tonight from family and friends. His joking and carefree demeanor sometimes masks his caring side. We've heard and seen this evening his contributions to the industry, but many of us, when we look deeper, know how Bob mentors others, as Gina and Rob were talking about. You see, he doesn't do things for self or to be recognized. He does things for purpose. Whether it's rallying the cause of the industry to make sure that the Los Angeles had a fair alarm ordinance, helping with Special Olympics, assisting Angel's Nest at Cal State Northridge, or his work with cystic fibrosis, Bob will give you the shirt off his back. He'll nudge you to take on an association leadership role, which he did to me, or ask you to contribute more to a cause than you may feel comfortable financially doing so. He does things for the betterment of others, and he does these things without seeking personal recognition. That's what you see Bob if you look deeper. I am proud of the selection committee for choosing this worthy man. I am honored that Bob is receiving this recognition named for one of Bob's and mine good friends and mentor, Mr. George Weinstock. And mostly, I'm proud to call Bob my friend. Congratulations.
So I'm just curious. So now I seem to have a remote control. So thank you very much, everyone, for speaking. Wonderful words, and I'm sure they meant a lot to Bob as well, too. And thank you, Bob, so much again for all that you have done. At this point in time, I would like to invite George Weinstock and the previous award recipients to join us on stage. He's going to do that. Yeah.
And not one wheelchair.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, there have been several individuals who have given in this industry, serving us, and achieved the Lifetime Achievement Award with the George A. Weinstock Award. Thank you very much to all of you. And we are going to have a few people from this group speak to Bob as well. And the first person that I would like to invite up is Les Gold.
Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I thought that was a tremendous presentation, and I congratulate not only Bob, but all the presenters for doing a fabulous job. Bob truly has been a welcome addition to this industry, and I've watched him grow for a long, long time. Fortunately, I wasn't involved in his hose, but I would say unequivocally he's certainly deserving of this award, and I am proud to say that this August committee voted this prestigious honor onto Bob on this occasion. Congratulations. We're very proud of you.
The next person that I would like to invite up is John Sargent.
So I'll keep this brief, but I got to tell you, I first met Bob in the late 1980s with actually several people here on the stage when we were first talking about unifying the state of California into the California Alarm Association. And I was president of the Golden Gate Alarm Association, and I flew down with our vice president, Bill Sereski, to go see what does Southern California alarm companies do with their industry. And I went down there. We went to the Los Angeles Burglar and Fire Alarm Association, and there was Bob, who I got to meet. Kirk McDowell was there. I think he was the president. He had hair in those days. But the thing I remember about Bob from the beginning was the jokes, the fun. We were talking serious stuff back then. We got two attorneys right here that know what we went through. But, you know, Bob always was light about stuff for as long as I've known him, really. And, you know, when I was president of the CAA, it was 4 long years. Towards the end of my term, I gave out an award to everybody on our board because there was some complaining about, you know, this is a good old boys club. It's always been run by the good old boys. So we gave out a little award at the end of my 4 years that we gave out the good old boys CAA hat, okay? And I said, I don't want to hear any more complaining. You're not a good old, it's not the good old boys and, you know, what we're doing. You're part of it now. And Bob, you really deserve this because you have always been there supporting this industry, all of the associations, as long as I've known you. And I know everybody will agree with that. And I want to give you a very rare CAA Good Old Boys Club hat. Thank you.
The next person I'd like to invite up, and for those of us that have been here for a few years, we know the evening would not be complete without Harvey Einstadt's poem. Harvey?
Bob and I were talking a little while ago, and we realized it's about 40 years that we know each other. I didn't realize he was that old. And as most of you know, I enjoy poetry. I like reading poetry, and I like writing poetry. And I remembered reading a poem that was written probably about 100 years ago by a poet called Edgar A. Guest. And when I read this poem, after everything you've heard this evening, you'll understand why this poem was written for Bob. The title of the poem is called It Couldn't Be Done. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he would be one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with the trace of a grin on his face, and if he worried, he hit it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one ever has done it." He took off his coat and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew, he'd begun it. With the lift of his chin and a bit of a grin without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Thousands will tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure, thousands to point out to you one by one the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin, just take off your coat and go to it, just starting to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done, and you'll do it. That's Bob Jennison.
At this point in time, I would like to invite Bob Jennison to join me at the stage. George, if you could help me.
Put that down there.
Can I lift this thing?
No, I don't think I could.
I'll help you with the
George can still lift it.
over here.
It is absolutely with a pleasure that we now provide you with the George A. Weinstock Award as our 2016 recipient. And let me read what is on the award for you so that everybody knows. Oh, I can lift it. George A. Weinstock Award presented to Bob Jennison in recognition of your lifetime of achievement and service to the association and our industry with appreciation and gratitude from the members and board of directors, the California Alarm Association, December 9th, 2016. Bob.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Huh. Yes, it won't fall down. Good. Next. So, you know, Jerry had asked me to keep this down to about 32 seconds because we know you all came in here for the free dinner. You didn't come here to listen to me. So my father once said to me years ago, he said, you know, Bob, if you weren't so nice, you'd be more successful. And I think he'd be very proud of me right now. You know, I want to acknowledge the past recipients here. I'm very fortunate because I know them all. Many of them had a lot to do with mentoring me, starting with Mr. Weinstock over here. George, I went up to him in the 80s. I used to go to the Western Burger and Fire Alarm meetings and sit there in the back of the room during the board meetings and listen to him, Paul Worsley, different icons of the industry, and I learned a lot. And George was always willing to contribute back. So when you're talking about mentoring, I learned from this gentleman over here. John Sargent, John's always been a good friend. And John has done more in this industry than anybody that I know. He's a tireless worker. He's been with ADT, Tyco, Joe Schmo Company, whatever it is, he's still around. Ron Lander, he knew more about technology than I knew how to spell technology. Charles Swager, if it wasn't for Charles, the Glassic Golf Tournament would not be as successful as it is. Charles took over it and ran that thing with an iron fist, organized it, and now the amount of money that we raise, you know, for the scholarships is greater than any other association, and that's because of the help of Charles. Tony Smith, what can I say about my old partner, except he is old. Harvey is always selling, and he thinks he's going to sell everything. And I'm just wondering, did your book ever get into the Amazon top 1,000?
It's in the top 1 million.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Ron has been in the industry since, well, before I was born. You know, when I think he was with Moses going down the river back, you know, in biblical times, but he's still standing here. He doesn't need a walker yet. He asked me, you know, 4 times. He said, "Can you wrap this up? Because I have to go to the bathroom." And with Les Gold and Allen, the two of them, are probably the finest security attorneys in the industry. And Les has always taken me under his wing. He taught me a lot when we were trying to raise money fighting the non-response issue. And Alan, I think the best thing Alan ever did for me was not to play golf with me. We have Ron back here. He was the secretary of the Western Burger and Fire Alarm Association when I first joined in. I remember him from those years. Frank Burke was the one who started the scholarship. And if you folks don't know, the scholarship is for children of police and fire personnel. And through the work of Frank, he put me on that committee. It's probably been the most rewarding thing I've done in this industry. And if you folks have never read any of these essays that the winners do, please ask Jerry for copies, because it renews your faith in our younger generation when you see how strong they are, what they do in the community. 16 years of age, the hours they put in. They get 4.6 grade points, and they're on the varsity football team. And they write these wonderful essays about their parent who is in law enforcement and what they mean to them. And because of Frank, I think we've raised over $400,000 that has gone to scholarships for these kids. Shane Clary, I knew Shane when he was McGruff. We were both on the LA Burger and Fire Alarm Association. He'd put that dog costume on and walk around in parades, and now he's a doctor. George Gunny. What can we say about George Gunny? Yes. He is probably the most loved individual in this industry that I know. He is straight to the point. You always know where you stand with him. If he doesn't like it, he'll let you know. And he is probably one of those people that if he's your friend, you know he's your friend. Somebody that I will remember forever. George DeMarco is probably one of the best marketing people I ever met. When we had our company, we were always trying to do something bigger than our competitors. So we would join a dealer program. And George was in Orange County. We were in Southern California. And I turn around and there's George joining the same program. George and I both got into the home automation business 25, 27 years ago when nobody even knew what it was. And we thought we were going to be really smart. And there's George. He'd been there 6 months before us with the same product, doing better. He was always a step of everybody, and we were just a little step behind. But George was always somebody you could look at and respect in the industry. So I feel very fortunate that I know all these gentlemen, and I've spent the last almost 40 years of my life getting to know them better. I had a few notes, but I lost my glasses. So I think all I can say is Kathy's right. She called me. I was driving down the Harbor Freeway through downtown Los Angeles, and forgive my terminology right now, but when she said, "Bob, congratulations, you're the 2016 George Weinstock Award winner," and I said, "You're shitting me." and I said, "But I'm just a salesman. I've been schlepping the streets for years," and it made me proud to realize that you don't have to be the president of the association. You don't have to be visible to everyone. You don't have to be out there amongst them talking about yourself, that people really see what you're doing on their own. And that to me is the greatest honor I could ever have, that people saw what I was trying to do and I wasn't looking for the credit. So I'd like to thank you all for this great evening. This has been the second best evening in my life, because without my wife, I would not be here. When Tony and I started our business, we put every bit of money we had back into it, and without our wives, Susie and Bridget, and Robin Dunner, with our other partner, Fred Dunner, they supported us for 2 to almost 3 years before we were able to take any money out to help it. If it wasn't for them, who knows where we'd be today. So thank you, Bridget, for everything. And thank you for all my nieces and nephews that flew out unexpectedly today. I got 30 members of my family here. This is the greatest thing going. Now they are. Oh, yeah. It's okay. Stand in front of him. And Tony's back there. He knows how to change the pen.
Too late.
Okay.
Well, Bob, congratulations. Thank you for all of your service. An award well-deserved. I think we are all very excited, and we all feel very privileged that we've had the opportunity this evening to share this moment with you. To all of you, thank you so much for your service as well. This will conclude our evening this evening. And tomorrow morning, we invite you to join us at 8:45 on this level for breakfast in Ballroom B. Thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Catherine.